This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. In the last discussion, we discussed about the deploy modes, correct? So we discussed about two different modes, client mode and cluster mode. So what is the difference you guys found in a cluster mode and client mode? Rishabh, Gauri?
So in client mode, the driver will be running in the client, that is the edge node itself. And in cluster mode, the driver program will be running in any other node or in application manager.
Okay, very good. So, 1 second.
And the cluster will be non-interactive Spark Shell, and client will be having interactive Spark Shell.
Yeah. So in client mode, the driver will be running on the client machine from where you have submitted your Spark job. And the cluster will be different cluster. Maybe suppose let's take an example. You are launching your Spark application from the edge node and your cluster is in AWS. And all your workers and everything is there in AWS and your driver program will be running on the edge node. So the edge node, your driver program will occupy some amount of space, core and memory to process that. And anyway, you have your cluster. What will happen when it will process and it will request the application master from the client? It will go and talk to the application master and it will negotiate the resources and allocation and monitoring and everything happens. In case some data needs to be transferred to the driver program and keep in the driver program, then doing some transformation, the network latency will be more. So very simple, right? So network latency will be more. When your Spark code also there in the client machine and your driver program also there in the client machine, when you're submitting the Spark job, so most of the time we will recommend to go with the client whenever you have your Spark code also there in the client and your driver program also need to run in the client. Not like that. Sometimes what will happen to avoid this network latency, but if Spark code is there in the cluster, deployed into the cluster instead of one node, client node, then we'll recommend to go with the cluster mode. Your code also there in the cluster, your driver also will run in the cluster, your application master also in the cluster. Most of the cases, that's what I'm trying to say, most of the cases, your application master and driver will be together in one machine, will be together most of the cases. That time what will happen, the network latency to talk to the client application master will be reduced and the data transfer will be reduced and your client machine will be free to submit some other jobs. So that is advantage we get in the real time. Most of the real time project jobs will be running in the cluster mode only. Okay, now coming to the some important components, in Spark, we are keep talking about something called executor. We will keep talking, right? Executor will be always will be talking about this. So what is the executor? Can anyone tell me?
It is a JVM process that runs in worker node.
Yes.
Yeah,
It is
in
a
Java,
JVM.
we have executive service framework. Actually, we are using concurrent and parallel processing of the threads in the bunch of executors.
So what will happen with the bunch of executors, Gauri?
So if you want to run any program parallelly, before we are using in the Java, we are using thread runnable and thread extension. So now executor framework will support to create multiple threads, scheduled pool threads as well as scheduled threads and the single model threads. Like that, we can create 3 types of threads using the executor service. So, which using this service, parallelly and concurrently, program will execute without any, dependency or thread locks will not be happen. So, and it will be written some object as well. So that object
So
will
it
be
will be
result or exception. Yeah.
it will be too technical with respect to Java. Let me explain in a very simple way.
Yeah.
We have a one machine. Okay, we have a one physical machine is there. In this physical machine, I have a 16 cores and I have a 64 GB RAM and some hard disk, which can be 1 TB, 2 TB hard disk. Okay, when I have a 16 cores, it means it's a big machine only. It's not a small machine like an normal your laptop or desktop. No, it's a little bigger one. In this, we can run so many parallel jobs. So many parallel jobs, not the parallel threads. Threads are different, processes are different. When we say executor is nothing but taking out some cores from here, let's say 4 cores. And I'll give the rough estimation here. 4 cores, if you take out, you'll get the 4 executors, right? I think we have explained this one. 16 cores by 4 core each, you'll get 4 executor. Let's assume that. For now, I'm just taking all the cores to make you understand. Later, we'll divide the Spark and the Yarn and other stuff. Okay. So you got the 4 executors. So 64 GB RAM by 4 executors. So how much you will get for per executor? 16 GB RAM. So it means you have 4 virtual machines in it. 4 virtual machines we divided. One physical bigger machine, which has a 4 cores now, 16 GB RAM. 4 cores, 16 GB RAM. 4 cores, 16 GB RAM. Again here 4 cores, 16 GB RAM. It means 4 parallel processes we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. It means one physical machine has been divided into 4 virtual processes. And every executor, I'm taking out an example from here. Okay, one executor I'm taking. Okay, one executor. I'm taking one executor. Sorry. Okay, let me take a box. I'm taking one executor here for a sample. This is executor 1. So this executor has how many cores? 4 cores. How much RAM? 16 GB RAM. So now what will happen here? This executor, normally what we'll call child JVM process, or a JVM process we'll call. What we will call a JVM process we'll call, where it has some set of resources to run the tasks, and keep the data into memory. Let's assume that I have a 4 cores, right? When you have a 4 cores, it means you have a 4 parallel tasks. Let me write a small window here. I'll go with this. Let me take this one smaller. If you assume this is my JVM process, it's a JVM. You have 4 cores where you can run 4 parallel tasks. It's quite important. The reason to explain you in this much detail, because we will be keep talking about executor. We should know what is executor. One second. Hello, Damodar. I'm in. I'll call you back. Can I call you back?
Okay, okay. Yeah, but 8:30 there is a call now. Is it there?
8:30. Yeah.
PTO or something is there?
8:30. We have a call. Huh?
PTO meeting.
Who sent the request?
Jitesh,
One second.
even meeting information or anything, it is not there in that.
No. PTO means paid time off.
Okay.
So
He is in leave today.
Jitesh is on off today.
Okay, okay.
Okay, man. Sorry. So if we take this one, we keep talking about executors, right? When we talk about executor, we should not be with a blank. We should not be with a blank. So we should little aware what is the this one, the executor. Now, if you look at here, this is one physical machine has been divided into 4 virtual processes, which is called JVMs. And each JVM has 4 parallel task capacity. 4 parallel tasks capacity. And each parallel task capacity, each parallel task, when you create a RDD or when you create that or all those things, right? Let's say I'll do one more thing. I'll just divide. I'll assume. Okay, let's assume this. And I created RDD. So when I created RDD, what will happen? Partition 1, partition 2, partition 3. Okay, let's say this is for one RDD. Okay, we may have other RDDs. Okay, so partition 4. It means 4 parallel tasks can run. Task 1, task 2, task 3, task 4. And they will have their own memory, cache memory. Try to remember, guys. Okay, I didn't take that part, but I have some cache memory also here. I have some cache memory also. So this is an executor. This executor can parallelly run 4 tasks. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yeah, Ravi.
So what it is doing, some amount of memory has been allocated, some cores has been allocated, and that amount of memory again it will divide into some categories. I'll discuss in detail about that. Even when you have a 16 cores, we will not make use all the cores for your executors. We will leave some cores for that the physical machine also. We'll talk about that in detail at this point of time to make you understand what is an executor. It is a JVM virtual process where we have allocated some resources for it. Okay, what it does, it stores the RDD partitions or data frame partitions, whatever it is. It can cache the partitions, or it can run those partitions. It can run those threads. Okay, so how many cores you have, those many parallel tasks it can. Any questions so far?
No, no.
Okay. Now let's talk about memory, the most important part. The most important part. Okay. So when we allocate some kind of what you can call heap memory, right? Some will normally will allocate 16 GB here. What happens with the 16 GB? What happens with the 16 GB? Okay, let's talk about that also. Now, before that, um, whatever the memory you have taken 16 GB here, that we will consider as a memory for that JVM process, right? That memory will be categorized. Will be categorized. How they will be categorized? There are, if I can take, okay, let me explain that. So mainly, um, it categorizes the four parts, but actually before that four parts, it will be two parts. Okay, one is it is called memory overhead, and other one is spark memory. What is the memory overhead? What is the so this memory? Let me write here. Has been divided into two categories. One is memory overhead, and the other one is normally we'll call it as execution memory, but I'll call it as a spark memory because the spark memory has been divided another two categories: execution memory and storage memory. Execution and storage we'll talk about in this detail. What is this memory overhead? What is this memory overhead? This memory overhead is nothing but a reserved off-heap memory for a JVM to run like what you can say. Uh, do you guys remember strings as a different memory?
Yeah, constant pool, string pool.
Yes, some kind of memory will be allocated for them, like internal string, some other native threads to run, so some kind of thing. Okay, then you may ask where this cache, persist, and all come. They all comes in the storage memory. So what is this off-heap memory? I have used one word, off-heap memory. Off-heap memory. We'll talk in detail about this off-heap memory. Actually, these in the recent versions of the Spark, they're using half-heap to. And earlier, what happened to do all the objects used to store in the memory, and it was a burden on the memory. So they have taken out some part of the memory, and they said that it's off heap. So they will store only the necessary part. So whenever it is required, they will read from the off heap while doing the serialization, deserialization also. We'll talk in detail about it later. Okay. Now, now by whatever the caching data outside your JVM memory, what it actually required, what suppose you have done some caching apart from your main Java heap space, but still it uses the RAM. Ultimately, every memory will be RAM only. The off-heap memory, what it does, it allocation of the cache overhead length JVM garbage collection. Suppose, to talk in very clearly, let's say I have loaded some objects. Some objects I'll be frequently using in my application. Some objects I'll not use. Some objects will be used in the main memory, the execution memory or main memory. Some objects is not really required to keep in the memory. Okay, so what it will do, they will put outside the heap. That's outside the heap is nothing but off heap. One second. Hello.
Hello. అన్నా నేను ప్రవీణ్ మాట్లాడుతున్నా.
అర్థం కాలేదు.
హలో, నేను ప్రవీణ్ మాట్లాడుతున్నాను.
ప్రవీణ్ చిన్న మీటింగ్ లో ఉన్నా, మళ్ళీ చేస్తా. So what will happen here? Whatever the objects are not frequently used, they will be put into half heap. And whenever they require, they will read from the half heap. But this is not actual heap. They have allocated some different memory for it. It's in the RAM only, but they have allocated some amount of memory. Okay. So this memory actually used for the what I can say, so unused or not frequently used objects will be kept there. Otherwise, what will happen if it's their normal memory? The garbage will be cleaned up. The garbage will be cleaned up. Whenever it's required, again it will be recreated. So to avoid that recreation and clean up process, we'll put into half heap memory. Is this clear? This memory overhead, what actually we'll do, we will take 10% of the actual memory. Let's say we have allocated 16 GB, right? 16 GB, 10%. Earlier it was 7%, 0.7%, or 384 or something. Now it will become a 10%. 10% means 1.6 GB. Remaining memory will be Spark memory. This remaining memory contains 3 parts. Try to remember, guys. Actually, 3 parts. I have shown you only 2 parts here. There is one more space called okay. Actually, it comes like execution. These two comes one part. People actually says this is one part. There is one more part called reserved memory. Reserved memory. There is one more part called user memory. Like this. What I do, if I remove this one.
Ravi, this categorization all happen after the 16 GB, right? This is each is good to have the 16 GB memory. So after the 16 GB, it will be divided like this Spark memory, like memory overhead, like that, right?
Internally, it will consider. Suppose when you are calculating a memory for your Spark executor memory, we will allocate the executor memory, right? Normally, we'll execute our idea should be always.
Okay.
Our idea should in mind 10 should be keep mute. Okay, 10% you'll consider a heap. Apart from the 10%, let's say 1.6 GB already taken out. So rest will be the 14.4, right? This 14.4 GB will be divided into 4 parts, 3 parts. This 14.4 GB will be divided into 3 parts. Are you guys following me? Am I making confused? Or if you are not confused, I'll simply explain the other details. Am I making confused, Rishabh?
No, Ravi, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do one more thing here. Let me remove this. Got to take it out. This one. This one. I'll put it like this. Execution, storage. This is one piece. Normally, actually, these are 2 pieces. We'll consider one piece. Then, for more clarity, you see, user memory as a separate. Okay, let me take out this. Okay, user memory. So three categories. Actually, Spark memory, three categories. The actual memory will be two categories: memory overhead and Spark memory. We normally will call it as a Spark memory, or some people call this itself execution memory. This itself executor, or I can say uh, executor memory. So memory overhead, or some people call executor memory. Keep in that mind, okay? This executor memory itself is a three parts: reserved memory, user memory, your actual storage and execution memory. Your actual storage and execution memory. Reserved memory and executor memory, user memory actually to maintain the user details information. Reserved memory actually is used for the libraries or any specific uh, libraries kind of information to keep. We are more interested on the execution and storage. Okay, we are more interested on the execution and storage. What is this execution and storage? This execution, the Spark execution will happen, right? Where the execution will happen? That will happen in the execution memory. When you do the cache or persist, right? That will happen in the storage memory. That will happen in the storage memory. Let's talk about this. Then we will jump into the user memory, the user and reserved memory. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let me go with a simple diagram. I can borrow this diagram from Google if it is possible. Let's borrow from here. Spark memory management. Yeah, this one. Is this clearly visible? The names and everything is visible.
Yeah, Ravi.
Okay. Okay. If you look at here, what are the normally the parameters we set for the Spark job? These are the things. Yarn, node manage, resources, memory, MB, executor container. You see that below the yellow, I think this color. If you see that in this, where is my cursor? This one. In this, you have a Spark heap space. In that reserved memory, some 300 MB, and a Spark fraction, the Spark fraction, memory storage, and default. This is your memory fraction, and this is the memory storage, and this is user memory. This memory fraction is nothing but your execution memory. And you see the memory overhead here. I told right 384 MB, 384 MB, or 10% of the whichever is the higher. Okay. This storage is 55% means it's actually 50%. It means, let's say if I have allocated my executor memory is a 10 GB, 5 GB will be considered for 5 GB will be considered for your execution, 5 GB will be considered for your storage. So what is the user memory storing? User data structures. What is the reserved memory storing? Reserved system related memory bytes or libraries or whatever information is required. And what is the actual execution memories? What is that other part? The execution and storage. Are you following? Are you following what I'm actually trying to say? Suppose my execute while you are setting one of the parameters there, right? Spark dot what is it? Executor dot memory. While submitting a Spark job, we'll give this one. Okay, let me take this one. Instead of going for 3, go with the other version, some too specific to 2.4 or something. Guys, please let me know if anyone has a confusion, if you're not able to follow, because I'm trying to show in detail. Please let me know. Okay, search for Spark dot executor dot memory. Yeah, normally we'll give like this: driver memory, executor memory, like this will give. Okay, let's talk about what is this property. This is the one. So default 1 GB, guys. Normally we will give whatever the amount of memory we want. So the Spark driver memory overhead and the Spark executor memory overhead and Spark driver memory. You see these 4 parameters? There are other parameters also. We'll talk about driver core. By default, it take 1 core. Suppose your driver program is running in the client machine, it required 1 core. Suppose your driver program is running on the cluster, it required 1 core. Okay. Try to look at these 4 parameters. Okay. First one. We'll talk about this because we are talking about executor. Later we'll go to the driver and all. Amount of memory to use per executor process in MB unless otherwise specified. By default, it will go with this way, like a 2 GB, 8 GB, 14 GB, 16 GB, whatever the number you provide. The amount of the memory to use per executor process. Coming to executor overhead memory. Executor memory is into 10%. Into 0.10 means what? 10% only, no? With the minimum of 384, whichever is bigger. Let's say if I have allocated 10 GB, if I have allocated 10 GB, so in 10 GB, memory overhead will be 1 GB. Is 1 GB is bigger or 384 is bigger? 1 GB.
1 GB.
So it will consider 1 GB. The amount of heap memory to be allocated per executor, of heap memory to be allocated per executor in MB unless otherwise specified. So by default, it will be considered. If you specify explicitly, we can also specify explicitly by passing this parameter. This is memory that accounts for things like virtual machine overheads, intern strings, otherwise native overheads. This tends to grow with the executor size, typically 0 to 10%. This option is currently supported on Yarn and Kubernetes. Suppose if you go with some other things, it's not supporting, like Mesos and all, it's not supporting, or standalone and all, it's not supporting. Okay. What is this memory executor memory is talking about? The memory has been allocated for the process. Let's take an example as per this diagram. Okay. Let's say I have allocated 4 GB. Okay. As for the job, I have allocated 4 GB. What your process will do? Your process will request how much? I have allocated 4 GB for my executor. The actual how much amount of memory is required? How much it will be requested? Guys, your memory, executor memory into memory overhead, right? Yes or no?
10%.
10%. It means 4.4 GB will be requested. Yes or no?
Yeah.
If your Spark executor memory is 4 GB, your memory overhead memory overhead is 10%, what will happen? 4 into 0.1, I can say. How much it will come? 0.4 it will come. So total memory will be 4.4 GB. It requests 4.4 GB from your resource manager. Are you getting, guys, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, Ravi, yeah.
Okay. So in this, again, this amount of memory will be divided. Some amount of memory will be allocated for the this execution and storage. Some amount 300 MB. Look at here, 300 MB reserved memory again. So it's requested 4.4. In this 0.4 is gone for overhead. It means here 0.4 memory already taken out. 0.4 GB means 400 MB. Okay, it has taken out. 300 MB, it will go here. So rest of the 4, I have 4. In this 4, 300 MB will go here. How much will be the rest? 3.7 GB, right? 3.7 GB only, no?
Yeah.
Okay. This 3.7 GB will be divided into 2 categories. For execution and storage. Actually, if you look at here, the default is 0.6, this one. 0.6 for your fraction storage. Okay, and 0.5
Storage
will be
fraction is 0.5.
with total memory I'm talking about. Your execution memory. Storage fraction is 0.5, correct, sorry. Okay, ideally I'll put in this way, 50-50 it will be allocated. 50% for execution, 50% for storage. 50% for storage, 50% for execution. Okay. So I have a 3.7. So 3.7 means closely we'll get 1.4. 1.4 will get, no, not 1.4, more only, more than that. 1.9.
Yeah, 1.8 or 1.9.
1.8 or 1.9, some. Okay. So some amount of memory we will get to execution. Some amount of memory will be allocated. 50%, 50% here, 50% here. So this is the old picture. If I show 1.6, I think it's 1.5, 1.5. Allocated 1.5, 1.5. Okay. This is how the memory division will happen. Some amount will be used for the storage process. Some amount will be used for the execution process. Is this clear? Is this clear? And let me show you one more.
It's like in the picture.
Go ahead, Ma. Go ahead. There is something called fraction also. I'm going to show that.
Okay.
Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I was asking like in this parameter, can I was like storage memory is considered as a driver memory, or driver memory is a different concept?
No, driver memory is different. Driver memory is different. We have not yet talked about it.
Okay, okay. I thought like probably the storage memory considered as a driver memory.
No. Okay, look at here. Spark memory fraction 0.6. Fraction of heap space used for execution and storage. The lower is the more frequently spills the cached evacuation occurs. The purpose of this config is to set aside a memory for internal metadata, user data structure, and Imprecise size estimation in the case of sparse, usually large records. Leaving this at the default value is recommended. For more details, including important information, blah blah blah, they have mentioned it is. Okay. Ideally, okay, these are the two parameters we were talking about there. One is a fraction, one is the this in this diagram. The memory spark memory fraction is 0.06 and your storage fraction is showing 0.5. Actually, it will be 50-50, 1:1. It's kind of 1:1 it will be allocated. It's kind of 1:1 it will be allocated. I was talking about this memory fraction. But here it is showing the 0.60. This is for execution, guys. Execution, and this is for storage. One is for execution, one is for storage. Now, so what will happen, sir? I have allocated 50-50 here. So my storage memory is not used at all, but my execution memory keep on using. So will I borrow something from the storage memory? Yes, you will. It's called dynamic allocation, dynamic memory change. Dynamic, when I say dynamic allocation, again, people will confuse. So internally, the execution and storage will dynamically shares their memory. When let's assume that my execution memory is required more, but the driver memory space is available, it will take. Even space is not available, what your storage memory will do, it will evact, it will what you can say, spills. It will spill some amount of least recently used pieces will be evacuated, and it will provide a space to execution. It will provide a space to execution. Try to remember that, guys. That's important. Try to remember, that's important. Okay, when you have a more execution memory, no problem. When you don't have a more execution memory, when it required more, you try to borrow from the storage. Storage will provide you that. Okay. Okay, so any questions so far? Let me answer if you have any questions, then I'll jump into this. Okay, and also this is a configurable, whether the storage it has to be allocated or not. And if you see, there will be changes. Okay, so it's not always we'll be having the same configurations. So we will be having some differences, some changes. Yeah, I think as of now this is the same. It's a false only, it's a 0 only by default. 1.6, 1.6. These are coming from 1.6. This version. It's not changed. Let's see, is there any specific to 3 version? They're all coming from older versions. This is the 3. Some blog URL. This is also 3. Some proxy redirect URI. Okay, anyway, we'll see those things later. Our main concentration on this memory part. Any questions? What are the different types of transformations? What are the different type of transformations?
Narrow and wider.
So what is the purpose of this narrow and wider? To divide the stages, to get the stages. Each stage contains set of tasks, right? They will be, and I mean, people may ask in interview how will stages will be created. I don't know, that was the reason I asked this. How the stages will be created. So based on the type of operations you perform, where you have a shuffle the data, when you have a shuffle, that will go to different stage. When you don't have a shuffle, it will go to a different stage. Okay, so that is about for now. If you guys have any questions, I can try to answer more in detail. In the next session, I'll plan to explain you how the memory allocation will happen, how the resource allocation will happen, like a dynamic resource allocation, Static resource allocation. That's what I'm trying to mention. Dynamic resource allocation, static resource allocation. So far, I have talked about the Spark memory fraction, Spark memory, execution memory, those things only, right? So I just want to give a little heads up. Guys, one more thing in worker node, when I have a 64 GB RAM, don't assume that all 64 GB RAM will be used for only your Spark application. No, all 64 GB cannot be allocated for all the Spark. And also, if you have a 16 cores, don't assume that all 16 cores will be allocated for your Spark. So here, one core for Yarn will be allocated because Yarn also runs some kind of resources in the background, right? One core is required for Yarn, right? Yes or no? And also your Yarn application master is required some amount of memory, right? Your Yarn application master is required some amount of memory, right? So like one core, some 1 GB of RAM we will actually take out. Then remaining only we will calculate. So these things we'll discuss in detail. Okay. These things we'll discuss in detail in the next session. Okay. Any questions so far? Then based on that, how many cores, how many executors, what is executor memory, how much driver memory, those things we will give our our Spark program. Okay, those things we'll discuss. People will keep asking one formula. Hey, there is one formula, there is one formula. I don't know why they are always behind the formula. There is nothing like the formula, guys. This is the only the formula. You understand now, right? If I have given this much amount, I have given this much of amount of data. In this 10% will be memory overhead, and some remaining amount will be for the executor memory. That executor memory again divides into two categories. That's the only formula, nothing else. We don't have any other formula. Okay, how much data it will be requested? I mean, how much amount of memory it will be requested, not data, sorry. How much amount of the memory it will be requested? Your executor memory, whatever the executor memory will give. Okay, I'll put in this way. Required memory equal to your executor memory, whatever the executor memory will specify, right? Whatever the executor memory will specify, right? Spark dot executor. Suppose if anyone want to make a note, please make a note. Executor dot memory plus memory overhead. This is also Spark executor memory overhead. Spark executor memory overhead. Memory overhead. So then, what is the memory overhead? Memory overhead is nothing but your 384 or 10%. Actually, it was earlier it was 7% only. Now it's a 10%. 10% of Spark executor memory. Okay. Any questions? So how much it will be? Suppose my executor memory I am giving 20 GB.
Yeah, I have a question.
So 1 second, let me complete. So this is required 2 GB, 10%,
Okay.
right? Total how much it will be? 22 GB I required. 22 GB I required. Are you guys getting what I'm trying to say? This is how the calculation will happen. Okay, go ahead, Ma. Varsha.
Yeah, I was like, how, like based on the job, a Spark job, how we can decide, like, as an example, we have taken 4 GB of executor memory. So based on the job, how we can decide how much executor memory is required?
That's what we will calculate first. How many nodes are there? How many nodes are available first? We need to understand. Forget about the job. Job we'll discuss. How many resources are available? How many cores are there? How much RAM is there? Based on that, first we will calculate, okay, I have this much resource. You will calculate, okay, so like that one we'll discuss in detail in the next session. For to give a high level, let's say here this is one node I told you, right? One worker node, one data node.
Yeah.
For this one worker node, how many executors you got? 4 executors, correct? Similarly, if I have 100 executors, I'll get the 400 executors. Yes or no? Okay. Now you will decide. I have a 400 executors, and what is the Spark amount of how much data I'm going to process? How much amount of data I'm going to process? What kind of complicated data I'm going to apply? I mean, what kind of complicated transformations applying? So based on those parameters, you will supply your driver memory, executors memory, and all. The executors memory and driver memory will be how much you can supply. You will get an idea from here. How much you can supply, you'll get an idea from here. This calculation. After that, you will decide how much I need to give. You got it, Varsha?
Yeah.
This we'll see in next session, ma, in detail. Then we will talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Rishabh, Gauri. And also, if possible, tomorrow we'll talk about the Spark performance tuning. So we'll see them. Okay. If no questions, we can leave for the day. We'll connect in the next session. I see today only few people join. I don't know why. Only 3 people join. I don't know why. Let's see. Oh, I know. It's a holiday in USA. It's a holiday in USA. I think Labor Day, right? Is it Labor Day in USA? Correct. It's a long weekend for them.
No, not at all.
No, Rishabh, it's a holiday for them. In USA, it's a holiday. Correct. Okay. Fine, no problem. Let's just move on. Okay, guys. So that is for now. If you guys have any questions, please ask me. We'll try to answer. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. Have a wonderful day. We'll connect in the next session. We'll see in detail about more stuff.
Thanks, Ravi.
Thank you, guys. Bye.